So let's continue with nonverbal communication. When we say nonverbal communication, this is the opposite of verbal communication, which means when you communicate, you do not use words. So what do we use when we communicate if it is nonverbal communication? So there could be the involvement of the facial expressions, the body language, what else? The gestures. So those refer to nonverbal communication. So there are different types of nonverbal communication. So these are the proxemics, the kinesics, the vocalics, and the haptics. So we will begin first with proxemics. So when we say proxemics, this refers to the space or the distance between the sender and the receiver. So the space or the distance affects the meaning or affects the communication between the sender and the receiver. And the distance or the space as well will know the relationship, or it will identify the relationship between the sender and the receiver, because there are different types of distance when we talk about proxemics. So there is intimate distance, there is personal distance, and there is social distance. There is also public distance. When you say intimate distance, that is for the very close friends or the loved ones. But when we say personal distance, that could be a good friend, communication between good friend, or the distance between the speaker and his good friend or the family member. But when we say social, that social distance could mean acquaintances. But when you say public distance, that could be gathering. So those are the different types of proxemics. Again, proxemics refers to the to how the space or distance affects the communication between the sender and the receiver. So, like this example, what do you think is the difference between these two pictures? This one, we could clearly say that this is personal distance because they could be good friends, but this one is intimate. Obviously, they are very close friends, perhaps. So that is the difference between the two pictures. Next is the kinesics. When you say kinesics, that refers to the body language and communication. So that includes the gestures, the eye contact, how you sit, how you walk, your facial expressions. So those are what we call kinesics. So how you move your eyes greatly affects the meaning of the message, because just like what the cliche says, the very famous cliche, it says actions speak louder than words. So that is kinesics. So when some leans forward while you are talking to them, what do you think does that mean? So that could mean this person is very interested. This person is very willing to listen to what you say, to what the speaker says, to what he or she says. So that is what you mean by this gesture. So that is all about kinesics. Next is the vocalics. So from the word itself, vocals. So that refers to the tone, to the speed, and the volume of a speaker's voice. We could say that if a speaker speaks fast, he or she is nervous. Or maybe he or she, that is his normal way of speaking. So there are different meanings in vocalics, or in the voice, the tone, or the speed of the person. So when a person speaks slowly, what could be the reason? It could be the person is sad, or he is not feeling well. For example, if I ask my friend, how are you? And then my friend says, I'm okay. We could say, or we could clearly say that he or she is not okay because he is feeling sad. And how do we know that he is feeling sad? Because of his voice. I am okay. Does that mean he is okay? No, he's not okay. He's just telling that he's okay, but he's not really feeling okay. So that is the meaning of vocalics, or that is that is what vocalics is all about. Next is haptics. Let's say haptics, that refers to the use of touch to convey meaning in a conversation. However, when we say haptics, that depends on the culture of someone. Because in other culture, touching is okay. However, in other culture, it is rude. It is not okay. So you have to know the background or the culture of the person first before you do something. Before you touch him, before you shake hands, before you hug, before you touch his head or his hair. So that is haptics. There is also meaning in that. So what could tight hug imply about two persons' relationship? So that could mean they are very close. So that could mean that they are very affectionate. So that is the meaning of haptics. So we are done with the types of communication. Again, there are two types of communication. The first one is based on the number of participants, and the other one is based on the medium. Let's have a review. Based on the number of participants or the number involved in the communication process, we have intrapersonal, interpersonal, group, public, and mass communication. If we talk about the medium used, we have the verbal and the non-verbal. And when we say verbal, it could be written or oral. If we say non-verbal, there could be proxemics, there could be vocalics, haptics, and kinesics. Okay? So moving on, let's have the ethics of communication. So there are ethics in communicating. What are these? First one is honesty. You have to be truthful when you communicate. You have to be honest when you say something. Why? Because that could have a domino effect. If this person says something to this person and that person relays that message to another person, so there could be domino effect. So if it is not truthful, then the process of communication will be very disastrous. Why? Because the information is wrong. The information is not honest. That's why when we communicate, we have to verify the source first. We have to verify if that message is valid or not, if that source is reliable or not. So that is one of the ethics of communication. We have to be honest. Another one is the openness to other views. What do we mean by openness to other views? That means you have to accept or you have to listen to the different opinions of your friends or the people around you, because you are not the only person who knows that something. You have to compromise. You have to have consensus. You have to agree with the idea of everybody. When you say openness to other views, that is, you listen to the world views of other people. When you say world views, there are differences. The ideas are different. So your idea is not the only idea which is correct. So you have to listen to the people around you. That could better your idea because it will help them improve your idea or your perception. So that is very important in communication. Another one is commitment. When we say commitment, you commit to what you are communicating to other people. That means you have to be honest. That means you have to be open-minded. That means you have to commit yourself that you are interested. You listen to the conversation, you listen to the communication, and you listen to the message. So that is commitment. Okay, that is a promise, an agreement that you do something. That is when you communicate. Another one is build consensus. As what I have said, when you build consensus, you agree. Because every person has a different idea. So you have to listen to that idea, and then as a group or as a member of the group, you agree. So you weigh now. So there is already decision making. So which idea is better? His idea is better, is good. My idea is also good. So why not combine the two ideas? So you compromise because you are not the only participant in the process. There are a lot of people. Even if when you write a research, even if you say, Ma'am, I am the only one who wrote this research, I am the only one who did this research. Please remember that even if you are the author of that research, you also collaborate. Why? Because you get information from your participants. You get information from your respondents. That is the data you gather from them. You also collaborate through getting information from the researches of other people to substantiate your idea, to comprehensively discuss your results. So that is, you build consensus. Okay, so that is one of the ethics of communication. And we will talk about principles of communication. So when we say principles of communication, these are: first, the message should be relevant. Why do we need to give relevant information when we communicate? To keep the interest of our listeners or our audience. How could they become interested if what you are answering or if what you are saying is not relevant to the topic? They will not listen to you. Why? Because it is not interesting at all. So it must be relevant to the topic so that they will really listen to you. They could follow to what you are saying. They could follow to what you want to say, your idea in general. Okay, so that is relevant. One of the principles of communication, you have to have irrelevant information. Another one is you have to be positive. When you communicate, you need to have a positive attitude so that other people would also like to listen to you, would also want to listen to you. Why? Because you are very enthusiastic, you are very passionate. Why? Because you are positive. You want everybody to be happy. So you just want to give a positive vibe. So it is a must in communicating. Okay, so be positive. Another one is choose the best medium. You have to know how to convey your message. For example, you are very angry, you are disappointed, and you don't want to confront the person first. So you don't need to tell the message directly to him. You could just text or you could just send him an email. But make sure that when you communicate with a person, you can control your emotions. Because remember, communication is irreversible. That means when you say something, you can't take it back. So you have to be sensitive. So when you're angry, you have to control yourself and cool down first before saying something. And also, if you think that this is not appropriate to tell it in public, then you have to choose the best medium so that the person also or the receiver would not be embarrassed. So you have to choose the best medium for your message to be effectively conveyed. So this choosing the best medium. This is very important. One of the principles is you study your audience. One of the things that you need to know when you communicate is you have to know who your audience is or who your audiences are. You have to know the background. You have to know Ideally, you have to know the background, you have to know the age, you have to know the gender. Why? To keep the interest. If you do not know who your audience is, that would not be interesting. No one will be interested to your idea or to your message. So make sure that you know your receiver. That is a must in communication. Okay? So if your audience is politically inclined, then you have to say something which is related to political issues. If you think that the audience or the audiences are children, you have to speak slowly because they might not understand you if you talk fast. If they are professionals, you have to speak professionally. So that is studying your audience. That is basic. That is a basic rule in communication. You really have to know your audience. Another one, aside from knowing your audience, you also have to know your purpose. Why are you communicating? What is your purpose of communicating? So they go together, studying your audience and knowing your purpose. So those are basic rules in communication. This one, be enthusiastic, just like being positive. You have to be eager. And how do we become enthusiastic? We listen to the speaker. In that way, if we listen to the speaker, he or she will know that we are interested in the message and we are very willing to know that message. So being enthusiastic. So you are very eager to the message, you are excited to know the message, you're excited to know the news. So that is also one way of respecting the speaker. Okay, you really have to listen so that when you speak, they will also listen to you. So that is a two-way process. Remember, it involves at least two people, the receiver and the sender. So if you listen, they will also listen to you. And lastly, you have to maintain intense focus. This is related to being positive and this is related to being enthusiastic. You have to have an intense feeling or you need to be very passionate when you speak so that the receiver will know that you are very sincere. The message that you are conveying is sincere. Okay, you are a sincere speaker. So that is maintaining intense focus and letting your speaker know or letting the audience know that you are serious about what you are saying or what you want to convey. So that ends the discussion on types of communication. Thank you, everybody. I hope you understand those things. If you have questions, again, you can just post it in the open forum section because I will be posting this video discussion so that everybody could access or everybody could listen to the discussion. Thank you very much.